أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا مظلوم يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاستجاب لهم ربهم أني لا أضيع عمل عامل منكم عمل عامل منكم من ذكر أو أنثى. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A second for the love of Imams Al-Hassan and Hussein. A third for the love of Fatima Zahra with your loudest voices. We know for a fact that in Islam, men and women are equal in the eyes of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not favored men over women, and He has not favored women over men. Yes, in Islam there are several laws that pertain to men, and there are other laws that pertain to women. But that does not make men superior to women. They are equal in the eyes of Allah. There is no superiority. There is no male dominance in Islam. Women in Islam are not disrespected. They are not degraded. They are considered half of society, and Islam has given them the respect that they deserve, the respect and honor and dignity that they deserve. And these are not just empty claims and empty slogans. Read the Quran from the beginning till the end. Look at the prophetic traditions. Look at the sayings of the Ahlul Bayt. They all shout and scream respect and honor and dignity for women. The Quran says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ. We reminded man of his parents, to take care of his parents. His mother carried him. The Quran mentions the mother instead of the father. The Quran reminds humans to take care of parents, but a special significance on the mother. حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ. This is one verse. And another verse, the Quran condemns the actions of the people of Jahiliyyah, how they disrespected women, how they hated women. The Quran tells us that during the days of Jahiliyyah, before Islam, if a man was told that your wife gave birth to a girl, Allah gave you a daughter, he would be embarrassed. He would be shy. He would go and run away. He wouldn't want anyone to see him, because it's an embarrassment that he's been given a daughter. This is an embarrassment at that time. So he doesn't know what to do. Should he keep the child and accept the shame, or should he go and bury the child alive and get rid of the shame? The Quran condemns this action. وَإِذَا بُشِّرَ أَحَدُهُمْ بِالْأُنْثَى ظَلَّ وَجْهُهُ مُسْوَدًّا وَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ يَتَوَارَى مِنَ الْقَوْمِ مِنْ سُوءِ مَا بُشِّرَ بِهِ أَيَمْسُكُهُ عَلَى هُونٍ أَمْ يَدُسُّهُ فِي التُّرَابِ أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ. The Quran condemns this action, these emotions, these sentiments held by the Arab during the days of Jahiliyyah. They were not happy when they received a daughter or a baby girl. While we have narrations in Islam by the Prophet that says if a girl is not in a household, that household does not have blessing. When a girl comes into a house, when Allah gives a daughter to a family, blessings come into that family. Look at the difference between what was before Islam and after Islam. The Quran condemns the action of the people of Jahiliyyah when they buried their daughters alive, because they thought this was disgrace for them. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. When the infant child will be asked, for what reason was it killed? They killed so many of their daughters, so many of their little girls were killed innocently. Islam changed all of this. Islam said that men and women are equal. Just like when you have a baby boy, you're happy, you should be happy equally when you have a baby girl and when you have a daughter. So many narrations on the value of women, on the value of mothers, on the value of daughters. There's a hadith that all ladies know. In fact, if they don't know any hadith, but they know this hadith, وضعت الجنة تحت أقدام الأمهات. Heaven is underneath the feet of mothers. Where have you seen this? In which religion, in which culture, that what is underneath the feet of women is considered paradise, underneath the feet of mothers, right? And a famous hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he stated, أحسنكم أحسنكم لأهله وأنا أحسنكم لأهله. The best of you are the best towards your wives at home. You have good tempers, you have good akhlaq and good manners towards your wives, your family members. Ahlih means your wives. وَأَنَا أَحْسَنُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ. And I am the best towards my wives than all of you. Indeed, Rasulullah never shouted at any of his wives. He never beat any of his wives. He never screamed at any of his wives. He never violated any of their rights. No, he always respected them, honored them, and gave them all of their rights. Despite the fact that some of the wives of Rasulullah were disrespectful to him. So this is Islam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Having said this, that Islam has given so much respect and honor and dignity to women, and Islam does not allow anyone to degrade and disrespect women, and they are equal in the eyes of Allah, there is a sermon in Nahjul Balagha, sermon number 80, a khutbah by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, delivered after the battle of Jamal. This sermon is very controversial. Anyone who is familiar with Nahjul Balagha knows that this sermon is very controversial. Imam Ali poses a very negative view of women, to the point that some people even thought that Imam Ali is a misogynist. He hates women to that degree. What is this sermon? What does it say about women? And how is it that we can resolve? In this sermon, Imam Ali alayhi salam is quoted saying, معاشر الناس إن النساء نواقص العقول. I apologize. إن النساء نواقص الإيمان نواقص الحظوظ نواقص العقول. O people, women are deficient in faith, meaning they lack faith, deficient in shares and luck, and deficient in intellect, meaning that they're intellectually subordinate to men. And then he explains why. As for the فأما نقصان إيمانهن فقعودهن عن الصلاة والصيام في أيام حيضهن. He explains why women are deficient in faith and why men have more faith than women. He says, as for their deficiency in faith, it is their sitting back from ritual prayers and fasting in the days of their menstruation. وأما نقصان عقولهن فشهادة امرأتين منهن كشهادة الرجل الواحد. And as for their deficiency in intellect, it is because the testimony of two women is equivalent to the testimony of one man. So that means that women are intellectually inferior to men. وأما نقصان حظوظهن فمواريثهن على الأنصاف من مواريث الرجال. And as for their deficiency in shares and luck, it is because their inheritance is half of that of men. Women receive half the inheritance of women. So they have half the luck and half the shares. Is that all? No. The sermon keeps on going. فاتقوا شرار النساء وكونوا من خيارهن على حذر ولا تطيعوهن في المعروف حتى لا يطمعن في المنكر. So be aware of the evil woman and be on the guard against the good ones. For the bad ones, be aware of them. As for the good ones, be on guard of them. And do not obey them in good so that they do not desire the bad. If they tell you to do something good, don't listen to them, so that they don't desire to tell you something bad. This is sermon number 80 in Nahjul Balagha. Some of you have come across this sermon and have heard of it. Others, this is your first time. You might be in shock. How do we consolidate between this sermon of Imam Ali alayhi salam and all of the other verses and narrations that order respect and honor and dignity for women? How do these go together? Isn't this a contradiction? Some might say, this is a contradiction. On one point, you tell us that the Quran says men and women are equal, women deserve respect, women deserve honor, and so and so. But from this point, Imam Ali is degrading women. He's disrespecting women in this sermon. So how can we fix the problem? And how can we fix the contradiction, the apparent contradiction between the two? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. First of all, let's examine the scholarly reactions to the sermon. How did the scholars perceive the sermon by Imam Ali alayhi salam? What did they think of it? And what was their initial reaction? Did they accept? Did they reject? Did they reinterpret? How was this sermon delivered? How was it received? By the scholars of Islam throughout history. Many scholars have discussed the sermon. They've discussed it, they've analyzed it, and many scholars have put forth their opinions. In fact, all commentators on Nahjul Balagha have commented on the sermon. You cannot comment on Nahjul Balagha and avoid this sermon, because this is one of the most controversial sermons of Imam Ali and Nahjul Balagha. So Ibn Abil Hadid, who's a foremost commentator on Nahjul Balagha, has commented. Many other commentaries, those who commented on Nahjul Balagha, have commented on the sermon. Contemporary scholars like Al-Shaykh Nasr Makarim Al-Shirazi has commented. Al-Shaykh Jawadi Amuli, Al-Shaykh Yusuf Sani'i, Al-Shaykh Muhammad Mahdi Shamsuddin, Al-Sayyid Muhammad Hussein Fadlullah, Muhammad Abdu, the famous Egyptian Sunni scholar, he has commented on this sermon. Dr. Mahdi Mahrizi, a contemporary academic scholar in Iran, and Dr. Amina Inlows, one of our great friends and contemporary scholars on hadith. These scholars have all commented on this sermon. So how did they receive the sermon? What were their reactions? Here we see various reactions. Not one, not two, but various reactions from different scholars on how they received this sermon, this very controversial sermon by Imam Ali alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The first reaction, acceptance. Historically speaking, most commentators on Nahjul Balagha and whoever commentated on this sermon, generally speaking, they accepted these sayings for a fact. They said, yes, what Imam Ali alayhi salam said about women, it's true. They're deficient in faith, they're deficient in shares, and they're deficient in intellect, and that they should not be asked for advice. And if they tell you to do something good, don't do it, so that they don't desire from you to do something bad. Generally speaking, historically, this sermon was accepted as a fact. No one questioned the validity of this sermon. In fact, Sheikh Muhammad Abdu, an Egyptian scholar from Al-Azhar University, who has a commentary on Nahjul Balagha, it's one volume, it's a nice commentary. He says these are facts. We cannot deny these facts about women. In fact, these are his words. He says this is a thing corroborated by the experience of centuries. The experience of centuries prove the sayings of Imam Ali right. But he's right. The things that he said about women, they're right. Muhammad Abdu continues. He says, in fact, women are intellectually inferior because, of Of course, this is what he's saying. This is not me. So please don't throw anything at me or accuse me of having these opinions. I'm just saying what he states. Of course, we don't accept this. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given women an intellect, but it's limited in comparison to what He has given men. Allah has given women the intellect. It's weird for child caring. Their intellect is geared towards taking care of their children and taking care of their house. And that's it. Their intellect is restricted to these two areas. But men on the other hand, their intellect is a lot superior. Because they go out, they work, they do commerce, they do finance, they do business, and so on and so forth. So basically, the first reaction is acceptance. They confirm that what Imam Ali alayhi salam said about women, that's facts. That's facts. Incidentally, recently, and this was all over the news, a Wahhabi cleric insisted that women should not be allowed to drive. They should not be allowed to drive. Why? He said because intellectually they're inferior. We should not let them sit behind the steering wheel while there's other men driving. No, women should not be able to drive. I don't know which woman he's talking about, to be honest. Because I've seen a lot of female drivers that drive a lot better than men can. So I don't know which females he's talking about. This is the first reaction. The reaction of acceptance. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A second reaction by scholars says, no. Imam Ali is not attacking women. He's not referring to all women. Imam Ali would never do that. Imam Ali is referring to one specific woman. Who was she? Let me give you a hint. The sermon was given after the battle of Jamal, the battle of the camel. And who led the camp against Imam Ali in the battle of the camel? Who? Aisha. Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr. This opinion states that Imam Ali is not talking about women in general. Because look, he gave this sermon right after the battle of Jamal, the battle of the camel, in which Aisha, the wife of Rasulullah, who has been ordered to stay at home and not leave her house. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنْ. Allah orders the wives of the Prophet to sit at home, not to leave, not to go out and mingle with men. Yet she led an army against the Imam of her time and led to the death of thousands of believers, thousands of mu'mineen, thousands of Muslims. Imam Ali, after this incident, he delivered this speech. So some scholars say, hold on a minute, calm down. Imam Ali is not referring to all women. He's specifically targeting one woman, and that is Aisha bint Abi Bakr. Well then, why didn't he just say so? Why did he generalize? Why did he say Ma'ashara an-nas, an-nisa? Why did he use a big word like woman? Why didn't he just say Aisha? Well, there's two reasons. Those who have this opinion, they say there's two reasons. One, out of respect for Aisha. At the end of the day, Aisha is the wife of whom? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to respect her. Those who have this opinion, this is what they say. They say out of respect for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Imam Ali had respect for Aisha and he did not mention her by her name. He generalized. This is one. Two, Imam Ali was practicing taqiyya. He could not have mentioned the name of Aisha directly. Because the majority of Muslims, they had respect for Aisha. In fact, not only did they have respect for Aisha, they obeyed her. She was like a marja' for them. In fact, look at the narrations that are in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Many of them are from Aisha. A great deal of these narrations are from Aisha. A great portion of Sunni jurisprudence and theology is based upon the narrations of Aisha. Aisha plays a major role in the school of Sahaba and the Sunni school of thought. So if Imam Ali were to come and condemn Aisha personally, this would have caused a problem for him. So instead of mentioning her name, he disguised it, he sugarcoated it by generalizing, by saying woman. But everyone at the time knew that he was not targeting women. He was targeting whom? Aisha. Let me give you an example. If there's someone that comes to the majlis every night and does not put his phone on silent, and his phone rings in the middle of the majlis every night. Alhamdulillah, that has not been happening. Thank God. And I'd like to thank you all for putting your phone on silent. But for example, it's someone who's respected out in the community. Every night he comes with his phone, he doesn't put it on silent, and the phone rings. The speaker is shy to tell him to put his phone on silent. So what does he say? He says, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, please put your phone on silent. He generalizes. Instead of targeting one person, he will generalize. So that he doesn't victimize, so that that person doesn't take it, what? Personally. So this is another opinion. And among those who held this opinion was Ibn Abi al-Hadid al-Mu'tazili, the commentator on Nahjul Balagha, in his famous Sharh Nahjul Balagha. He is of this opinion. Another contemporary scholar, Shaykh Nasr Makarim al-Shirazi, he espouses this opinion. He believes that this sermon, Imam Ali alayhi salam was specifically targeting Aisha. He was not targeting all of women. But out of respect for her or for other reasons, he spoke in the plural, not in the singular. And this is a popular opinion today. There's a lot of scholars, when you ask them about this narration of Imam Ali, immediately they'll tell you that this sermon is talking about whom? Aisha. Why? Why is it so popular? Because one, you don't have to get rid of the sermon. We don't have to, get rid of the sermon out of Nahjul Balagha and say that these are not the words of Imam Ali. No, he stated them. And at the same time, they don't necessarily, the sermon is not necessarily speaking about all women. So this is the best solution for a lot of scholars, to say that this sermon is speaking about Aisha wassalam. This is the second reaction. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A third reaction by several distinguished scholars is that this sermon has to be rejected. Why? Because it contradicts the Quran. And for any hadith, any sermon, any dua, any ziyarah found in our books, in order for it to be accepted, number one, it has to conform to whom? The Quran. It cannot contradict the Quran. Thus any hadith, I'll tell you from now, any hadith, any ziyarah, any narration, any sermon that contradicts the Quran, either literally contradicts the Quran, or it contradicts the overall spirit of the Quran. That hadith has to be rejected or reinterpreted. We have to fix. There's a problem with that hadith. You put a question mark on it. Several scholars, including Ayatollah al-Shaykh al-Fayyad, one of the contemporary jurists in Najaf today, Ayatollah Fadlullah, and Ayatollah Sani'i, and others, they believe that this sermon contradicts the Quran and hence should be rejected. The sermon should be rejected. Several scholars have expressed these views. Ayatollah Fayyad expressed this view in a discussion with a Shi'i scholar in London when he went for medical treatment. Sheikh Jawadi Amuli expressed this view in his Tafsir Tasneem. Ayatollah Fadlallah expressed this view in his book, The World of Woman, Alam al-Mar'ah. And perhaps this view is also ascribed to Ayatollah Mutahhari, Shaheed Mutahhari, in some of his books. Of course, it doesn't exist in his books today. Some believe that it was removed from his books posthumously. After his death, this opinion was removed. So this is another view. This is a third view, that this sermon contradicts the Quran and it should be rejected. As soon as you see a hadith that contradicts the Quran, you put a question mark. Now, how does it contradict the Quran? You might say, where? Which verse in the Quran is contradicted by this sermon? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. First of all, the Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. O mankind, we have created you from men and women, and we made you into tribes so that you may meet. The most honorable amongst you is whom? The most pious. You see, the verse first says we made you men and women. So Allah is saying we recognize the gender differences between you, but men are not better than women. Women are not better than men. The best of you is the one who's most pious. The one who's most pious. You see how the Quran is making everyone equal and making the standard of superiority not gender, not race, not language, not nationality, but piety. Whoever fears Allah the most, whoever obeys Allah the most, whoever is most righteous is the most superior. The Quran does not say men are more superior than women. In another verse, beautiful verse, look at how Allah caters to both men and women. إن المسلمين والمسلمات, Muslim men and Muslim women, والمؤمنين والمؤمنات, believing men and believing women, والقانتين والقانتات, والصادقين والصادقات, والصابرين والصابرات, والخاشعين والخاشعات, the truth-speaking men and the truth-speaking women, the men with concentration and women with concentration, والمتصدقين والمتصدقات, the men that give charity and the women that give charity, والصائمين والصائمات, the men that fast and the women that fast, والحافظين لفروجهم والحافظات, والذاكرين الله كبيرا والذاكرات. At the end, أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. Allah, for these group of people, has designated a lot of reward. A lot of reward. Allah could have easily said Muslims, believers, those who pray, those who fast, those who give zakat. No. Allah wants to make sure that people know men and women are equal. Just like men can attain the highest rewards in heaven, so too can women. Equal opportunities in reaching the highest stages of spirituality, in reaching the highest stages in paradise. Men do not have an advantage over women, and neither do women have an advantage over men. You see how beautiful this verse is? So how compatible is this verse with the sermon of Imam Ali? It's not compatible. In another verse, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ أَنِّي لَا أُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنْكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أو أنثى. Allah answered their prayers. I will not, Allah is saying, I will not forgo, I will not forget the good deeds of those of you that perform good deeds, whether you are men or women. There's an emphasis. Min dhakarin aw untha. Allah is emphasizing that women and men are equal. They have equal opportunities. The same way that men can do good deeds and attain paradise, so too can women. Neither of them have an advantage over the other. Neither one of them is superior in faith or in intellect or in shares over the other. You see? Thus, a group of scholars believe that this sermon contradicts the Quran and hence should be rejected. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A fourth reaction is also rejection. This sermon has to be rejected. Why? For various reasons. One is by a Sheikh Jawadi Amuli. He says that I doubt Imam Ali alayhi salam said this sermon. This is beneath his words. This is not his style. Look at all of the other sermons of Nahjul Balagha. Compare all the other sermons of Nahjul Balagha and compare it with this sermon, and you see a drastic difference. Imam Ali, the master of eloquence, the one who would not disrespect non-Muslims, non-believers. Would he disrespect believing women? Mu'minat? It's beneath his words. It's beneath him. Imam Ali is above these words. Even if it's directed at one woman, specific woman. This is according to Sheikh Jawadi Amuli. He says, even if we were to take the sermon and say that it's directed to one specific woman, still, it's beneath the words of Imam Ali. Imam Ali would not say this. This is one reason to reject. Others say that we have to reject. Why? Because look at the life of Imam Ali with Fatima al-Zahra. Look how compatible they were. Look at how much respect Imam Ali had for Fatima al-Zahra. Does it seem like a man who views women to be inferior to men? Intellectually and spiritually and financially, and that you should not seek their advice and be aware, not just of the evil ones, be on guard of the good ones. And if they tell you to do good, do not listen to them, so that they don't desire bad from you. Look at his life with Fatima al-Zahra and the way he treated her. How does that go together? Someone who had so much respect for Fatima al-Zahra and who obeyed her and respected her and helped her at home and spoke to her not like a wife but like a queen. How can Imam Ali say these words? It's not compatible. There's a contradiction. It's not the same person that treated Fatima al-Zahra in such an honorable way, yet says these words about women. Just doesn't work. This is one reason to reject. Another reason to reject is that Imam Ali alayhi salam said women are deficient in faith. Why? Because of their menstrual cycle. They cannot pray and they cannot fast, because they fast and pray less than men. Well, hold on a second. Women do not fast less than men. Yes, it's true that during the month of Ramadan, during their menstruation, women cannot fast. But after the month of Ramadan, they have to what? They have to make it up. So literally speaking, women do not fast less than men. They fast the same exact amount. In fact, it's even harder for them. While us men, we get to enjoy the fasting of the month of Ramadan. It's a blessed month. Females are deprived of that. Yet they have to make it up during later times, which could be a difficulty. So that's more honor for them. Where's the problem in that? Where's the deficiency in faith? Because of fasting less. They're not fasting less. Also, another reason to reject, some might say, is that why would Imam Ali alayhi salam criticize women for a natural process? And that's menstruation. Is that fair? To judge women according to a natural process that is not in their hands. It's not in their control. It's like criticizing a blind man for being blind, or a disabled man for being disabled. Is that fair? It's not fair. So why would he criticize women for their menstruation? Well, it's a natural process. It's out of their control. Is that fair? So some say Imam Ali would not say this. Those who hold this opinion are not saying Imam Ali said it, but we're criticizing what Imam Ali said. No, they're saying Imam Ali did not say this. He did not say this. Also, some might say Imam Ali said women have, or supposedly Imam Ali said, that women have less luck. نواقص الحظوظ. They have less luck than men. Why? Because they receive half the inheritance of men. Men receive double the inheritance. So they're out of luck. They have half the luck of men. This is incorrect. They don't have less luck. Why? Because men receive double the inheritance because they have a financial burden. They have to spend on women. Women don't have to spend on men. A wife does not have to spend on her husband. A husband has to spend on his wife. So Islam makes a balance, creates a balance. Islam gives men double the inheritance because they have a greater financial burden. Does that mean that women have lesser luck? No. No, they don't. Also, another reason to reject a woman's testimony is half of that of a man. Is it because of her intellect? There's something wrong with her brain? No, believe me, there's nothing wrong with her brain. There are some women, a great deal of women, that have better intellect than men. And a lot of them are extremely smart. And look at women today. They compete with men in every field. Wherever men have reached, women have reached. In every position, in every field, in every job, in every profession. You see men and you see women. So how are women intellectually inferior to women? No, the issue of testimony is not because women are intellectually inferior. It's a matter of memory. And if you remember, 2.5 years ago we talked about this topic as to why 2 female witnesses are equivalent to 1 male witness. I don't know if you remember. I certainly remember because I gave the speech. And we mentioned in that speech that woman's testimony is half of that of men, not because Islam degrades women or because they're intellectually inferior. No, it's a matter of memory. It's a matter of memory. Especially in business transactions, men have a better memory when it comes to money. So it has nothing to do with intellectual inferiority. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So these are various reactions. A 5th reaction says that this sermon was fabricated. It was fabricated. Why? To underscore Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam in her claim to the land of Fadak against Abu Bakr. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, of course she's a female, and she claimed that Fadak was her inheritance from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So what better way to underscore Fatima al-Zahra and to brush off her claim than to fabricate a sermon in the name of Imam Ali saying that women are inferior in intellect and inferior in the matters of inheritance. You see? It immediately brushes off Fatima az-Zahra's claim to Fadak. Hence it's a fabrication. It was fabricated to make Fatima az-Zahra look bad in her claim against Abu Bakr for her inheritance. Number one, she's a female. Her testimony is half of the testimony of a man. And her witness, Fatima az-Zahra witness, was Ayman, another female. Ayman was the sister of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the daughter of Abu Talib. And she was the only witness. And her testimony is half of that of a man's. Fatima az-Zahra was claiming for inheritance. The inheritance of a woman is half of that of a man's. You see? So it underscores the claim of Fatima az-Zahra alayhi salam. There are some scholars that believe in this, that this sermon was fabricated in order to underscore the claim of Fatima az-Zahra alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A sixth reaction. The sixth reaction says that we accept this sermon. And the sermon is not speaking about a specific woman, but it's speaking about women at the time. Women at that time. Thus, the sermon is contextual. It has a specific context. It is not general for women for all times and all places, even in the 21st century. No. Imam Ali alayhi salam was speaking about the women of that time. Why? Because the women at that time, this is one opinion, the women at that time, they married at a young age. Maybe at the age of 9, 10. Why? That's another issue. Were they physically mature? Were they not mature? There are some that believe back in the day, especially in the Arabian Peninsula, due to the immense heat, girls at the age of 9 were already physically mature. And they were capable of marrying and even bearing children, having children. And historically, several women at the age of 9 and 10 were, have been reported to have children. Anyhow, at the age of 9 and 10, you're uneducated. You're still a child. You're unwise. So obviously, a man should not seek the opinion of his wife who's that age, because she does not have an opinion. She's not educated to have an opinion. This is one. Or simply because women were denied education at that time. Not just women, even men. The people that knew how to read and write during those days were very limited. But women even more so. They were denied education. They were denied the ability to read and write and learn. So why seek their opinion? So this opinion says that this sermon is contextual. It applies to the women of that time only. It doesn't apply to the women of our time when women are educated. They've been to school, they've been to college, they've received higher education, and they've reached big positions, even political positions. And today there are some countries that are led by women and females. So this does not apply to our time. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The seventh and last reaction to the sermon is that the sermon is unreliable due to the biographical conditions. Due to the conditions of ilm al-rijal, this sermon is unreliable. Why? First of all, Nahjul Balagha. This is a general point on Nahjul Balagha. Nahjul Balagha does not have asanid, does not have chain of narrators. Al-Sharif al-Radhi, rahmatullah alayh, the one who compiled these sermons, he did not put the chain of narrators. He did not tell us how he gathered these sermons and how were they reported to him. From this person to that person to that person, this chain of narrators, sanad al-hadith, it's missing. Sharif al-Radhi, he just compiled the narrations and sermons without telling us how he received them. And this is very problematic because we need to know. Let me give you an example. If I tell you that so-and-so marja, so-and-so scholar said this and this, you'll ask me, how do you know? Did you hear him? I tell you no. They said, well, okay, then if you didn't hear him, how do you know for a fact that this scholar said this? Did you hear it from someone that heard it from the marja? Who did you hear it from? There has to be a chain of narrators. If there's no chain of narrators, it's unreliable. Nahjul Balagha, generally speaking, does not have chain of narrators. Does that make it unreliable? No. When it comes to theology, aqa'id, scholars say that it's reliable. But when it comes to fiqh and jurisprudence, it's not reliable. We cannot base Islamic laws based upon Nahjul Balagha because it does not have chain of narrators. This sermon is among the sermons that does not have a chain of narrators. Where did Al-Sharif al-Radhi bring it from? Obviously, there's a major gap between Al-Sharif al-Radhi and Imam Ali. There's several generations in between them. Obviously, Al-Sharif al-Radhi did not hear it from Imam Ali. So there has to be a chain of narrators. Where is that chain of narrators? We don't know. That makes the sermon unreliable based upon the conditions of ilm al-rijal. Are there alternative sources? Yes. Nahjul Balagha, a great deal of its sermons are found in other sources. So we can go to alternative sources. For example, Al-Kafi. Al-Kafi has a great deal of the sermons of Nahjul Balagha, but in different wordings. We can rely on them. So this sermon, does it have an alternative source? It's found in Al-Kafi, but incomplete, not all of it. Where Imam Ali alayhi salam says that women are deficient in faith, in intellect, in shares? No. That's not mentioned in the hadith. What's mentioned in Al-Kafi is the following. Beware the evils of women and be on guard from them, and if they command you to do good, then oppose them, so that they may not desire evil from you. Although this is not, positive of women, but it does not contain the full sermon. This hadith too has a problem in its sanad as well. There's a gap in its sanad, in the chain of narrators. It's from so-and-so, from so-and-so. One of the chain is missing. We don't know the name of the narrator. And from a rijali point of view, this narration has no value, because there's a problem in its chain. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. To conclude, was Imam Ali alayhi salam a misogynist? And did he have a negative view of women? We don't know. Because the authenticity of this sermon is under question. For all of the above reasons. Number one, it contradicts the Quran. Number two, it's beneath the words of Imam Ali. Number three, the chain of narrators, it lacks a chain of narrators. There's no alternative source. Because Imam Ali is, supposedly criticizing women for a natural process. And they make up the fasting, so they're not deficient in faith. And for so many reasons, that the sermon is under question. There's a question mark on the sermon. So why take something that is questionable and leave something that is not questionable? And that is the fact that Islam respects women. honors women, has plenty of respect for women. From the beginning of the Quran till the end, all of the prophetic narrations, all of the sayings of the Ahlul Bayt, they show respect and honor for women. One day, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam attended the burial of one of his companions by the name of Sa'd. Perhaps Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Sa'd died in one of the battles of Islam. Sa'd was nursed personally by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Such a great companion of Rasulullah. Rasulullah nursed him when he was ill, when he was injured after the battle. He died. Rasulullah participated in his burial, and he buried him with his own hands. His mother was standing. His mother said, "Congratulations, Ya Sa'd, for you have entered paradise immediately." Rasulullah told her, "Mahin ya Sa'd, la tuhattimi ala Allah al-Jannah." Hold on a second, Ya Sa'd. Who said that your son went to paradise immediately? Now that he's in his grave, the grave has crushed him. Crushed him. She said, why, Ya Rasulullah? Wasn't he one of your companions? Did he drink? No. Did he not pray? He prayed. Was he not a martyr? He was a martyr. Then why was he crushed in his grave? He said, كَانَ فِي خُلُقِهِ سُوءًا لِأَهْلِهِ. He was ill-tempered with his family, with his wife. With his wife. Because he was ill-tempered with his wife, he was crushed in his grave. This is Islam. This is what Islam teaches. Don't have ill temper with your wife. We have to respect women and honor women, because women deserve that respect. They deserve that honor. Look at our majalis. Look at our programs. Look at our centers. Women have their share. In fact, many of our centers are led by the women and led by their initiatives and their volunteering and their dedication. And at many centers, the audience from the women's side is bigger than the men's side. They're there. They're leaders. They're serving Islam and serving Ahlul Bayt. So they deserve the honor and respect that men give them. And as for Ashura, we see several women that played a major role in the support of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In fact, if it wasn't for several women on the day of Ashura, the message of Imam Hussein would not have been delivered. Look at Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. Sayyidah Zainab was the media vehicle for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. If it wasn't for her, the message of Imam Hussein wouldn't have reached the world. There were women on the day of Ashura. Indeed, we should be proud of them and proud of their sacrifice for what they offered. One of those women was the mother of Wahab al-Kilabi. Wahab was a Christian convert to Islam. He was a newlywed. He had just gotten married, him and his wife, and their honeymoon was spent in Karbala. What a beautiful honeymoon. What a beautiful way to spend the first few days of your marriage. On the day of Ashura, the mother of Wahab came to her son and she said, "Ya Wahab, you see all of these martyrs, all of these companions of Imam Hussein, they're going into the battlefield and sacrificing their life for Imam Hussein. They're showing glory. Make me proud in front of Imam Hussein and in front of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Make me proud, Ya Wahab." Wahab agreed to enter the battlefield. His wife came to him. She said, "Ya Wahab, It was only a few days ago in which we got married. Ya Wahab, where do you want to go? Why do you want to leave me as a widow? Wahab did not pay attention. He listened to his mother. He grabbed his sword and his spear. His wife kept on begging him not to go. Yet Wahab entered the battlefield and began to fight. Moments later, Wahab heard his wife calling him, Wahab, Wahab, come back. When Wahab came back to his wife, she said, Ya Wahab, I have a new request. Forget what I told you earlier. I want you to go into the battlefield and fight and die for Imam Hussein. She said, he said, how strange. Moments ago you were telling me not to fight. Now you are telling me to fight to death. She said, Ya Wahab, do not blame me. And nawa'iyat al-Hussein kasarat qalbi. The shouting of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein broke my heart. He said, what did you see? She said, I saw Imam Hussein standing at the front of his tent, and he kept on saying, Ala hal min nasirin yansuruni. ألا هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم رسول الله. Wahab entered the battlefield until he was killed. His head was thrown back to the camp. His wife grabbed a spear, and she also entered the battlefield. Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan hit her on her head, and she was the first female martyr to die at the hands of Aba Abdullah. There was another child, a 10-year-old child. Historians don't even know his name. They say غلام قتل أبوه في المعركة. A child whom his father was killed in the battlefield. He came to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his sword was dragged to the ground. He was so small. He came and he asked Imam Hussein for permission to enter the battlefield. The Imam saw that his father was already killed earlier that morning. How can he allow this child to be killed? What would his mother do? He said, my child, I cannot allow you to fight. Your mother is already bereaved of your father. I cannot allow her to be bereaved of you as well. He said, my master, Aba Abdullah, it is my mother who sent me to fight in the battlefield. My mother is sending me to fight. His mother came. She said, Aba Abdullah, أتذكل بك أمك الزهراء ولا أذكل بولدي. Your mother, Fatima al-Zahra, will sit and mourn you, and you do not give me the honor of sitting and mourning my child. Imam Hussein allowed the child to enter the battlefield. The child began to recite, أميري حسين ونعم الأمير. أميري حسين ونعم الأمير. سرور فؤاد البشير النذير. علي وفاطمة والداه. فهل تعلمون له من نظير. The boy entered the battle and he fought very bravely until he was injured. He called Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Ali al-Akbar rushed to him. He saw him in his last moments. He told him, my brother, do you have a wish for me? He said, yes, I have a wish. Tonight my mother will be lonely. She lost my father and she lost me. Please don't let her sleep in her tent alone tonight. Move her to your tents, the tents of Ahl al-Bayt. شبان شبان مثل الورد يزهون. حساف حساف على الغبر ينامون. يا شبان بالله لا تونون تصدعون عقلي من تنوحون ما ادري يا بعد اهل ايش تريدون. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Before you wipe those tears, keep those tears on your cheeks, raise your hands to Allah. Allah will bless us and accept our dua for the sake of these tears that were shed for Aba Abdullah. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله 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 يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا عيبا إلا سترته ولا خوفا إلا آمنته ولا رزقا إلا بسطته ولا شملا إلا جمعته ولا مرضا إلا شفيته ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء نقرأ سورة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.